I'm Mia. I am 20 years old. I'm from Long Beach, and I've been cooking and baking a lot during quarantine. I've been super in love with cooking and baking since I was very young. I grew up watching Food Network with my mom, and some of my fondest memories are trying to recreate the Chopped Kitchen. I usually did that with my stepbrother in my tiny kitchen when I was like 10 or 11. And as I got older, my attention moved elsewhere, and I kind of lost touch with that part of myself for a while, so I wouldn't really cook that often. But I would cook for myself on occasion. It was never trying anything new. And then when the initial stay-at-home order was issued, I wasn't really expecting to fall back into cooking or baking because it had been so long since I was really interested in it. But I did find myself trying to express creativity through a lot of different outlets. I tried sewing, which was extremely short-lived, and then I was doing lots of makeup looks out of boredom, and I couldn't really find anything that stuck. And then this whole time I was cooking meals for myself, but it was usually the same meal, mostly every day, and I didn't even realize it could be a creative outlet. Then, out of boredom, essentially, I started trying new meals and baked goods because I wasn't eating out as often. And I felt the same joy that I felt when I was younger. And then eventually I started cooking or baking mostly every day and sending photos to my friends of what I was making. And then a little less than 5 months ago, I decided to start an Instagram where I could track my progress and display all of the new things I was trying. Now, the year's almost over, and I've found a whole community of young chefs and bakers that are just as passionate as I am about food, so it's been really exciting. The inspiration for the meals and baked goods I make comes from a few different places. First, I'd say a large chunk of the inspiration comes from my background. My dad is Moroccan and my mom is Lebanese, and so growing up I've always been exposed to a lot of different flavors that I love to incorporate into my cooking. Second, the Instagram community full of 20 to 30-year-old chefs is really inspiring and motivating. I didn't even realize that there were so many people around my age that loved cooking as much as I do, and I love to see what other people are cooking and try their recipes, or I'll do like a poll and take suggestions for what to make next. The online community has also pushed me to cook with the majority of seasonal ingredients. So right now, a few examples would be pomegranates, winter squash, and apples. Then obviously cranberries is also like a very fall seasonal ingredient. Also, when I start to run low on groceries, I'm really pressured to get kind of creative and make meals out of what I have before I go to the grocery store again. Lastly, I'm motivated a lot by movies, especially with desserts. Like recently, I was rewatching Sofia Coppola's Marie Antoinette, and it inspired me a lot in terms of decorating. And then also, I really want to try Mendel's Courtesan au Chocolat from the Grand Budapest Hotel. My favorite thing I've made, I'd have to say, is croissants. I've only made them twice because it's a 3-day process and a bit tedious, but the result is so worth it. My least favorite thing I've made, I think, would have to be a coconut cake I made a couple of months ago. It was a layered white cake with passion fruit curd filling and a coconut buttercream, which sounds good in theory, but the whole thing was just so sweet. The coconut frosting was weirdly a little bit salty. I really loved the way it looked, though. I decorated it like an old-fashioned dome cake with coconut shreds, which added to the sweetness, and then there was a maraschino cherry on top. And the whole thing was a bit lopsided, but it was cute. I've had a few minor fails, but the worst one I've had throughout my quarantine cooking and baking career was my awful attempt at ciabatta. I was working with yeast that my dad had stored in a cabinet for I have no idea how long. After making the dough and waiting 2 hours for it to rise, it hadn't risen at all, and the result was hard and chewy, and it was flatbread-esque. and it was really more like a thick cracker than ciabatta. This whole experience has taught me a lot about patience and my ability to be patient. There are lots of different steps from understanding a recipe to then actually cooking that recipe. And cooking and baking are both processes, so when I don't get things right on the first try, I don't beat myself up about it. And even when I do get things right on the first try, I know that there's always room to improve. If you want to start cooking, but you're scared to fail, just know that everyone fails every now and then. Cooking is a skill that can be developed over time. There's no point in holding yourself back, so just do it.